let's get going. It's time to ruin Mayhem's day.
Welcome back to Retro Wednesday, the Titanium Hanger. This is Mike, and today marks a huge milestone for me after we look at these European Recolor figure packs. These came in 2 packs. I will have reviewed 100% of everything Kenner made for the Kenner Mask toy line. And it's kind of a good feeling. It's a little bit sad, right, of passing it away, but don't worry, there's a whole lot of other things to look at. We have the mask is getting renewed by Hasbro, so the IP is renewed by Hasbro. Maybe they're going to do something with it. Maybe they're not. We know Ramen Toys making some really cool stuff. And then, of course, there's CFCV. So there's a whole lot of great stuff I'm going to be looking at. Maybe I can get my hands on some prototype stuff that I'm trying to get in the works. But let's go ahead and take a look at these European color variant figure 2-packs. We're going to look at each figure, compare them to the original, and then we're going to show the packaging, how they originally came. Coming up. Alright, so the first 2-pack is the Jazla Flo and Matte Tracker, but I want to kind of show this real quick before we get into a whole lot of stuff. And I want to show what this looks like next to a page puncher. This is something I just had a video about page punchers. They're going to be making G.I. Joe page punchers, so if you're curious how page punchers look next to one of these Kenner Mask figures, and there it is, and also these modern McFarlane ones. No foot pegs, but they stand pretty well. That works. Anyway, let's get into first talking about the Jazla Flo figure, and we're going to do a comparison side by side right here. And there it is. And the color variant is different. Now, first off, I want to say the mask is, now it is, instead of purple, it's black. And instead of orange on the eyes, it's red. And it looks like it's got the nose painted red too. So that's interesting. So taking off the mask underneath, what we notice that's different about them is the clothing color. And here's the funny, I've had this figure for a long time. I really just needed to get the mask off him. And with that, it's one of those figures, I don't really think he's ridiculously hard to get the figure, but the mask is pretty challenging. And I also noticed that even just the standard figure with his mask is becoming more challenging to get on the secondary market. But this one has a yellow stripe on it, where they took away the yellow stripe, has a green shirt. I think the original one actually looks a little bit better. It has more paint apps, more color breakup, looks better than the European Recolor variant when it comes to Jazla Flo. Here's Matte Tracker. Now, both of these came with the Volcano, and so they literally just repainted or recolored the figures that already came with Volcano. I'm sure it has something to do with the way the molds are set, and that's probably how it goes. Anyway, so the original one over here has kind of like a purplish mask. This is a red mask. This is more close to the color scheme that you see that Miles Mayhem has with the Laser Command. And that's kind of the whole vibe I got from it. So you can put him next to the Miles Mayhem with the Laser Command, and they probably would match. They'd be besties matching. Again, we see more color breakup and color interesting stuff going on here. I guess I should have shown the back of them too. But there he goes. And so the original one had more color breakup and a little bit more interesting looking, but the brighter kind of neon red color there kind of stands out and pops on a shelf. So pretty cool looking figure overall, and that's the first 2-pack. So the next one we have here is the Miles Mayhem and the Nash Gory, and this is a pretty cool little 2-pack here. Again, they came with, was it Outlaw? They came with the Outlaw. And let's go ahead and move Nash out of the way. We'll take a look starting out with old Miles Mayhem. Now, the original one had a whole lot of crazy stuff going on. Now, I'm not sure. I gotta look. Am I just missing? Is my paint just really that worn on it, or was it supposed to look like that? This is the one I grabbed. I just think mine just has really worn paint. Mine's the one I grabbed. The one I have on display, actually. I'll probably have the better one in the vehicle. I don't have very many of these, even though I have a few of the vehicles. But that's, I guess, not that brown tan is supposed to just be fully tan, so that's not good. Anyway, looking at over here on this one, so I do think that the new one looks a little bit more interesting, but I guess I'm just tired of looking at the same old one over here. Comparing the mask colors, purple versus blue, kind of the green versus that orange. And here's the backs of them. And I guess it's nice that I've got one that's in the European one in pretty good condition over here. But that's how they look in comparison. Let's look at the Nash figure. For consistency purposes, I am keeping the Recolor one on the right, and also so I don't get them all screwed up. Kind of easy to probably screw these up. Well, probably hard because I've been looking at the old ones forever. But looking at that mask, it is, the original one's green, to go with the overall green color scheme, and then the new one is orange with blue on it. That's pretty interesting, pretty cool. None of these Recolor variants are short masks, by the way. They're all long masks. They did away with short masks before all of this stuff was a thing, and any of these recolors were even being considered getting made. But looking at this, yeah, it's a much different look. I don't know. I didn't really like the whole green drab color scheme with original figure, but I don't know if I like the tan drab tan color either. So you do see his glasses in there, and of course there was no face paint. He's got glasses on, but it'd be nice to have face paint. Different skin tone color with this, which I don't really see different skin tone color with the rest of them. I don't know why they did that with this guy. It was probably just a mixing error and all that, but you can even see down he's got his blue on his collar and blue, but all the different colors on there, still more paint apps on the original Nash Gory. Next up, we're going to take a look at Julio Lopez and Calhoun Burns, and no, Calhoun is not related to Mr. Burns from The Simpsons, but here we go with these Recolor variants, and again, they look pretty good. These are ones I've had actually for a while, but I think I just recently picked up one of the helmets to finish this out. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. We'll start with Julio Lopez, and I've got to say probably one of the most common figures nowadays if you're collecting is get a Julio Lopez for his Firefly in there. And obviously you could put him in his Firefly if you wanted to, but there is the mask difference from kind of a tan to a reddish color. But the red doesn't match the figure. I'm not sure if that was faded or intentional, or they just wanted it to look a little bit different there, because it's more of kind of a purple lavender kind of thing with a suit on it. So taking the masks off, and I think I only have a couple that are dried hard. All right, come on, dude. Yeah, there it goes. I only have a couple that are kind of dried on hard. Here he is, and okay, looking at this, this is something that we haven't seen with really the rest of these recolors. Well, we've got some paint apps right here that are different colors than the rest, and then so there's more color breakup on this one than we've seen on some of the other ones. Here we see all of the straps colored. Only the straps right here are colored on this one. Still interesting with the blue. It's a little bit more vibrant. I mean, it kind of feels like 90s G.I. Joe, what they were doing, where they went neon. Some of these figures have such a neon color look to them. Still pretty cool, pretty interesting, and it's kind of fun. I never really thought I'd complete this set because they were so expensive 2 years ago. It was impossible. But I guess with the economy, this is getting a little bit easier to get this set put together nowadays. It's probably not as hard as it was 2 years ago when I was trying. And we're going to get in here with Calhoun Burns. And mine, for whatever reason, is kind of leaning to the side in here. We'll plug that peg into a different foot, and there it is now. He's going from kind of some deep blue to yellow, like way different colors, and dark to super bright. Strange. He's leaning to... I wonder if that's just the stand is messed up. Looking at the masks, they went from orange to purple, and then dark blue to light blue on the visor piece. And then getting in here looking, we've got a nice combination of some greens and purples that are added to that and accents. So this looks like the paint apps are pretty close, except he does have his knees and his top of his foot painted, and then everything else seems to be combining the same number of paint apps together. Here we go with the back, and that's how he looks. So pretty interesting how they recolored these, how they decided what's going to get paint apps, what's not. I really feel like they try to get them... I almost feel like they cheaped out on these in a way with trying to cut paint apps here and there. But these last two we just looked at, they're pretty close to the originals with the number of paint hits. So next up we have the recolored Floyd Malloy and Bruno Shepard, and I want to say that this Bruno Shepard is the hardest one to get, and I think it's because they put out Floyd Malloy, and then at the same time they put him out as a 2-pack with her, and so it's like 50-50. So 50% with her, 50% with him, making him the hardest figure to get in the line, I believe. I might be wrong, but he might be the hardest one to get. Anyhow, I couldn't find a color variant of her at all, so that's a weird thing, and if there is a color variant of her, then I would definitely try to pick her up, but I don't see one. Anyway, let's get into taking a look at Floyd Malloy. Alright, so I'm refilling this because this figure had a broken part on it, so not going to use that footage. Anyway, looking at these side by side, I always thought this was the coolest looking figure in the toy line because of the dark black, the dark red, the silver, just it looked really cool. The hair coming out of the hole in the top of his mask. And it's still a pretty cool figure over here. I probably still like the original more. Yeah, the original's cheap, easy to get, widely available, but still such a cool looking figure overall. Let's take the mask off. We can see that this one is in much better shape than the first one I looked at. Scary pulling that mask off second time, but here we go. And they have a different color of yellow on the hair. It's like brighter on the first one. And then, oh man, now this one has a bunch of paint wear on the face. Kind of crazy. Now looking at this, they're pretty close on the paint apps. There's a little bit more painted on the leg right here than what's painted on here. But for the rest of it, looks pretty close. So with a black and red and silver, this is red with purple and gold. And it's a really interesting look that's got going on right here. Still a cool looking figure. I still prefer the original one though. I think even though the gold is interesting, the original one still wins for me. I think it's a cool looking figure overall. But yeah, there he is. This was the notorious Floyd Malloy. So here is the Bruno, and Bruno's another one that I thought was kind of a cool figure back in the day. Comes with the tattoo. So let's look at the chain tattoo. Of course, this one's rubbed off a little bit, but this European one has a good chain tattoo going on with him. Looking really nice. And then he's got, instead of a kind of a black glove, he's got a purple glove, and he's got kind of a teal look. Now this is kind of a cheap out though. They did kind of cheap out on his costume. And let's be very careful getting that off. A very expensive, challenging figure to acquire. Pop that off there. Exact same mold, but they didn't put a chest tattoo on him. And they did only one color hit to the emblem on his, whatever his wife beater shirt he's wearing there. And then here he goes to the back here. And of course they didn't recolor his lower leg. So it does look a lot more plain and simplistic. So for a figure that is commanding too much money on secondary market, is very simple and plain. And I would admit, very disappointing getting him versus if you've had this other one with all the different colors on him. Looks a lot cooler, but still, it's nice to have in the collection. I guess you got to have them if you want to complete these Euro color variants. Next up, we have Ace Rker and Honda McClane in their recolored costumes here. They look pretty cool, interesting setup, and not exactly sure why they picked them to be in one set, because they didn't really go with vehicles together. Really not sure why they picked all the ones that weren't paired up in the first place. But let's get into looking at Honda McClane first. And Hondo is probably one of the bigger, well, they're all big changes color-wise, but it goes from bright, well, to bright, to bright neon. So he had that yellow and purple kind of color scheme. And his mask in there, which is featured in the intro too, it's pretty interesting. And it's so iconic, but then we recolored it to gold and black, which is really strange that they went that route. But pretty cool looking figures overall. And I gotta say, I mean, I kind of like this costume. I like him in this better than with his firecracker costume. I'll be very careful taking this off. I think that's another one that's sort of dried out a bit and a little hard. Now, noticing that we have some gold here and almost the same number of paint apps. Now they did paint his like gun holster or something over on the side here. That's not painted on the new one, but the color variant. But that's really about it. So really pretty close to the same number of paint apps on it, and looking pretty decent overall. This hyper color bright orangish red is kind of crazy, but yeah, there's Hondo McClane. Pretty cool looking figure. Now Ace Rker is one that I think just looks really cool in the European color variant, different versus the first one. I think the first one was just really boring. Some dude in a bomber jacket walking around. Now he looks like some dude with kind of like some 80s style to him, you know? And then I like the blue helmet more than the red. Probably just because I'm just sick of looking at the red helmet. I mean, that's probably the only reason. And I kind of lean towards the blue and the purple range, which kind of blue and red kind of mix them together to get kind of a purplish look to them. Anyway, let's see. On the helmet, we see blue, red, silver, and purple. Cool stuff. Let's get the masks off of there. And my figure has some paint rub on his hair. Some hair paint rub. That is what it is. They're not cheap figures. And his fact that he has white pants, they are a little yellowed. And, well, that kind of sucks. Definitely doesn't match the paint. So I'm guessing the torso is painted here and painted there. And then the rest of that is, darn, yellowed. It didn't look that yellowed on the shelf, but under brighter lights you see it. And you can see the paint wear on the buttocks, the buttocks. But still a cooler looking figure than the original one. The original one did have the fuzzy stuff on the collar painted in. So there's a little bit more. And he's got the lines for what's going on the legs. So more paint apps on the original, kind of following the same one, but Ace Rker looking pretty cool. All right, so in addition to having the Recolour Euro variants, I've already gone over the adventure packs here, but the figures in the adventure packs are yet again different recolors that we are going to take a look at. So starting over here, this Jazla Flo, which I would take him out of this, but you risk breaking something. But he has green overalls, coveralls, instead of blue, and a darker green shirt, but also the mask is, he's got a black mask, but it's got yellow eyes. So if that's, I believe everything I've looked at, that's the correct setup to have for those. Then we get into Calhoun Burns, who has a white with, I think I have another one of him, white with red and blue and stuff. So you can kind of see what he looks like outside there versus the yellow. So this is from the 2-pack, this is from the adventure pack. Now a lot of this was really confusing to me when collecting, so that's why I like to clarify this stuff in these videos. And of course, if I got something wrong and you guys want to link me to something that proves me wrong, that's fine, because it's all about learning. Then we get into, it's a Honda McLean Sea Attack. I think it's called Sea Attack, something along those lines. Off the top of my head, trying to remember it, but there's a different coloration to it. So he's kind of got green with a different type of green and orange and stuff going on. The one thing to notice the difference is the helmet, the mask. I didn't realize how different they were, because this is kind of like a navy blue with an orange, and then this is gold with sort of kind of the dark, well, maybe it's black, but it almost looks the same color. The lens almost looks the same color as that there. But then we get into the Recolour over here. Now this comes with the racing arena, but they also packed, what was it, Miles's brother Max? Was it Maximus? Mayhem? Anyway, they packed them also, so it's kind of 50-50, but he is the harder one to get in that set. And side by side, here they are, and it's confusing on the mask. So, because this has purple accents, and this is purple with a red accent, black with purple accent, the mask is confusing too. So I've done a lot of research into this, I've checked lots of pictures, I've looked at stuff that's sealed on the card, tried to make sure it's 100% accurate for the video, and there it is. There are the Euro Recolour variants versus the Euro adventure packs, and it was a lot of work, trust me. So I hope you enjoyed this look at the European Kenner mask figure variant recolors, and it's kind of cool to have these. It was really a challenge to get them. It took me a while to get a complete set of these, and if I were to try to get them carded or sealed, it would be ridiculously expensive and take triple the time, I bet. But anyhow, I'm curious what you guys think about this. Have you picked up any of these color variants? Or are you kind of like I was for the longest time and just didn't really care about color variants? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and Teddy your hanger out.
That ought to take care of Clutch Hawks. Nice going, Vanessa. Look what you've done to Stinger. Powerhouse. On.
If my scanner says that Venom's trail leads here, then this is where it leads. No doubt about it.
The Stinger.
Then destroy them.
We're so much alike, Vanessa. Both of us like to chew real good limbs.
What was that all about? Oh, I congratulated Vanessa. Someday, maybe I'll learn to keep my big mouth shut.